everyone, it's Jamie Fisher, Academic Tech Specialist. Really excited to see you all back for a new school year. And as we head into this school year, we know we're going to have quite a bit of remote teaching. We're also going to have socially distanced classrooms. So Colin and I were thinking about some ways to create resources for teachers this year. And one of the things that we saw quite a bit in the spring were student Chromebook issues. I wanted to create a video for you all around the most common Chromebook issues and how you can solve them while you're in class with kids so that you don't have to wait for that support. So what we're going to try to do is create the kind of 10 most common Chromebook issues we saw for students and provide you quick ways to solve those in 10 minutes. So we'll see how I do. Okay, so let's get started. The first and number one tip for solving any student and teacher issues is to restart those Chromebooks. You should be restarting, and they should, every day anyway. But if you are experiencing any issues with a student, they're saying something like their audio isn't working, or their camera's not working, or a Google Doc won't load, or things are slow, any of those things need to be, or can often be fixed with just a restart. Now, one thing that's important is that students need to know how to actually restart. So they need to know that just closing and reopening the Chromebook does not restart the device. It does make them log in again, but that is not a restart. To restart, they can either use the power button and the refresh at the same time. And you need to know where your power button is on your device. So like mine right now has one up here. Some of our device models have them on the side. So you need to make sure you know what that looks like for your kiddos. But the power and the refresh at the same time will restart it. They can also do that from the settings. To restart using your settings, you can actually come down here to the bottom right of the Chromebook screen, click, and you'll notice that this box pops up. The power button is right here where my mouse is, and you can click on that to power down, and then they click on the actual power button on the Chromebook to restart. Okay, so our first step is always restarting the device. But if that doesn't resolve everything, we have a few other tips and tricks coming up. So the next one is if you have students who are saying things are really slow. Now, there are some things that we can't control. For example, a student's internet speed at home. Those are not things that we can control. But there are some things that we can control. So if a student is saying that things are running slowly, first thing to do is to have them check how many tabs they have open. You can have them actually show you their screen, and they can click the X's to close out any extra tabs. The more tabs that are open, the slower that things will run on their device. The other thing they can do is plug in their power cord. If they are running low on battery, that can also slow things down. Okay, here comes our next point. Let's say you have students who are saying the restart did not fix their audio or camera issues. There are a few things that you can do to fix audio and camera issues no matter what program you're in. You'll notice that I'm in a Google Meet right now, so I'm going to show you that in here, but you can do this in many other programs too. So the first thing you would want to have students check after a restart is to come up here to this lock icon on the URL. If you open this up, you will see the settings for this particular page. So you'll see that on here, my camera is allowed and my microphone is allowed. If for any reason the student had blocked those or said not to allow, they could re-enable that here. The next thing to have them check would be to have them check their mute and their camera settings down at the bottom of the screen. So make sure that they are not muted there, that they have their camera on. Those are two good ones to check. Additionally, in Meets, you can go to this More Options button on the right-hand side. Come in here, and if you go under the settings, you'll see the audio and the video settings are here. So you can actually have students check to see, and you can see right now that mine is working because I'm seeing the audio bars change here. So my mic is working. This is something you can have students do if they need to check. Maybe the mic is different if they're on a home computer or something. And they can also check their video, and they get a preview here to see if it's working. Lastly, if students are using headphones and they're not hearing through the headphones, have them unplug to see if they can get audio through their computer and if it's an issue with the headphones. If they unplug and can hear with the computer but not the headphones, then it's a headphones issue, and that's something else that we could work with after that. I'm going to show, I've kind of lost track of which number I'm on, so in post-production I'll go back and add that in, but here is the sort of next area that I think we can often solve a lot of student issues. So if you click on the bottom right, this is where you get to your settings. And if you look here, you'll see that we have the Wi-Fi setting is right here. This is great if you have a student who accidentally gets stuck on guest Wi-Fi at school. You also have a volume setting down here. It is even noticed that I have my headphones plugged in. And you have a screen brightness setting. So if you have a student whose screen is suddenly far too dark, all of those are right here. The last thing you have over here that we're going to dig into a little deeper is this settings. When you click on this settings, it actually brings up the settings for the Chromebook. So I'm going to show you how we can use that to address some common issues. So when you click on your settings, it will bring up a large settings menu on the left-hand side. You can search this settings menu, which is great. So the first thing I'm going to show you, and I'm just going to demo one of these, is a common issue that we see with students. I'm going to type in accessibility and open up our accessibility features. So one thing that happens is sometimes kids' Chromebooks start reading out loud to them. That is your Chromebook setting. Right here, you can enable or disable. You have your enable select to speak here as well, and a lot of other features that sometimes students either accidentally or if they're hitting buttons may get turned on. But this is where you can enable or disable any of these features. We have now talked about the Chromebook settings, but now I want to talk about the Chrome browser settings and another common issue that comes up for students. So this is such a common one, right? We hear, I can't log in, it's not working. And so there are a few things we need to check there. The first is, are you using or is the student using the correct username and password? We have a standard username and password for most programs, and that can be found on the EdTech website, depending on the type of program you're using. The other one is to make sure that a program does not need to be logged into using ClassLink. Is the student using ClassLink if the program runs through ClassLink? That will help them log in. Now, the last one that can sometimes happen, and Tinkercad is up here on my screen now, this has happened with us on this site before, is let's say you've tried all of those things and nothing is working. You can come up here to the three dots in Chrome and go to More Tools and Clear Browsing Data. So what comes up here is the ability to clear cookies and the cache from the Chrome browser. And this can help if students have, let's say, accidentally saved an incorrect password or something like that, or there might be program updates that sometimes cause these issues too. So they can go ahead and clear this from all time. That's just fine. All right, we have reached our last official tip, if you will. And then I'm going to share one other thing. But I did want to show one thing that I have heard complaints from students about is when they restart, sometimes their tabs go away, and they might be using their tabs to save work assignments or something like that. So if students say they have lost their tabs, you can come over here to the three dots again in Chrome and come down to the history. If you mouse over the history on the left-hand side, you'll see everything that computer has recently been doing. So on mine, you can see I've been in WeVideo a lot. I have my email open, and I have my script for this thing that I'm working on right now. But you also see these things that say one tab. These are tabs that were closed. And if I wanted to, I could click on that to reopen that tab. So a lot of times what happens is if you close down the Chromebook, it'll say something like 5 tabs, and you can click on those 5 tabs and it will open all 5 of the tabs that you had open before. So that's a great way to help students if they're feeling frustrated when they restart, if their tabs don't reopen. A lot of times tabs do, but sometimes they don't. So it's a great place to go back and help them. The last thing I want to say, and I think I could have easily started with this one too, is a lot of times folks are like, well, how do I even know what the problem is? You know, the student isn't articulating to me what's actually going on. Or they say like, my whole screen went black. And you're like, what does that mean? One of the things that I find the most useful is if a student is having a problem, to have them actually share their screen with me using Google Meets. And then they can show me what the problem is so that I can see what's actually happening. A lot of times you can solve issues this way. If a student says that they can't log in, you can watch them as they're typing in, you know, their username. Is it the right username? If they say they can't get a Google Doc to open, you can see if they're going to the right place in Classroom. So I really like to do that. And if I'm in the middle of class and I can't have a student share a screen right away, one of the things I will do is say something like, okay, hold on, watch my screen while we're doing this. And once I get the other students set, then I will go back and have that student share their screen with me. So that would be my go-to anytime I'm trying to kind of diagnose what a problem would be, is to not feel like you have to address it at that immediate moment. You're in the middle of class, just like you might ask a student who is having difficulty in class to wait just a moment so you could get things going, and then you come back and answer their questions. Hello, everyone. This is Jamie from Makeshift EdTech. This was our first video, and if you enjoyed it and would like more content like this, we're planning to create more in the future. We'd really appreciate it if you would like or subscribe.